know you're going to get sick?
Yes.
And there's nothing you can do about it?
Yes.
All right, my wife yesterday, I don't think she got out of bed until like 3:30. I didn't see her outside the bedroom. She horrible sore throat. Well, guess what hit me this morning? I am worried that I'm not going to have a voice tomorrow. If my wife's illness is any indication of how I'm going to feel tomorrow. So what I did is I flip-flopped, if you look at the schedule, Monday and Tuesday. So I'm doing my Matson muscle discussion today, and then the Monday will actually be here tomorrow. All right, and then the rest of the week is the same. But I'm going to do this today while I still have, for sure, a voice. I wanted to make sure that you got it, because it's essential to the project that you have to start Wednesday. I would say this is the most in-depth discussion of the year. It will require you illustrating your knowledge gained over the course of the entire year. It will require a lot of attention on your part. I'm asking you to do a little bit of a stretch activity. Not normally do I stand up here and talk for 50 minutes. Today, you're looking at least 45 minutes of really in-depth stuff. But I hope you walk out of here saying, oh, God, I feel so smart. That's what I want. I want you walking out feeling smart. All right. Let's get this party started. You have some notes that you've been given. Anybody in the back, if you would like to move closer, you're more than welcome. If you would like a little closer, there's some room on the side.
Hey, can you do me a favor?
But just do it
Throw that away.
quickly.
I think you're supposed to ask him before you throw it.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Especially in the dark.
It's just a paper towel.
Hey! Anybody else? All right, go ahead. Click forward. Oh, all right, now, with this, you have to make sure you use the left one, not the middle or not the right. So keep it on there. Okay, go ahead. All right, so here's what I need you to be able to do by the end of the period. Explain the structure of skeletal muscle in really good detail. We've already covered this. So this will be the second time that you're getting it, and there's going to be a little bit more detail thrown in. Also, here's the big one. Function of skeletal muscle in a detail level that will, I hope, really floor you. You're going to be learning how skeletal muscle works at a collegiate level. So you're learning the physiology that you will learn, again, if you take anatomy and phys in college. So take advantage of it. Learn it now. I highly encourage you to ask questions today. Say your answers loudly. I want to hear. I've heard far too much whispering first and third period. I want a lot of participation. I want questions. And write stuff down on the papers that I gave you. And I hope by the end you're prepared to make a model, because that's what you have on Wednesday. The biggest project of the year, value-wise, it's summative. You have to make a model of how skeletal muscle works. Okay, let's go. I haven't taught anything. How do you have a question?
No, right.
Okay. So this should be a review. I point, you tell me, right? Tendon, which connects a
Muscle to bone.
Watch where I point when you answer. Muscle to a bone. So therefore, what kind of tissue is it?
Connective.
Connective. It connects. So this is what part of the muscle? This whole the body. Very good. So this is the body. The body consists of several what?
Fascicles.
Fascicles. We've pulled 3 out. The body is covered by epimysium. The fascicles are covered by paramysium. And what's this pulled out?
Fiber.
Muscle
or
fiber,
cell.
also known as
Cell.
muscle cell. Muscle fiber or muscle cell, they're synonyms. And then we have blood vessels, little capillaries. We have multiple nuclei. What would be the advantage of making it having multiple nuclei on a muscle cell? Justin?
More DNA and RNA synthesis.
So more DNA makes more RNA, which produces more
Proteins.
Huge protein demand, as you're going to learn today. Huge protein demand in muscles. And so if they get torn or damaged in any way, we need to be able to repair those proteins. And that's where the multiple nuclei come in. All right, so then what else do we have? We have a cell membrane. And the cell membrane in a muscle, this is new. I don't think I taught this yet. The cell membrane in a muscle has a fancy name. It's called sarcolemma. Anytime you see this prefix, S-A-R-C-O, it refers to muscle. So sarco, I want you to, anytime you read that or hear it, think muscle. And lemma refers to cell membrane. it is my understanding, first and third period anyway, indicated that they were not taught that a synonym for a cell membrane was plasmalemma. Is that true?
Yeah.
Have you never heard that word before? Plasmalemma? How about neurolemma? I briefly mentioned it before.
No,
It's the cell membrane of a neuron. So neurolemma, cell membrane of the neuron. Sarcolemma, cell membrane of the muscle. All right, and it's specialized as you're going to learn here today. So we have the cell membrane or the sarcolemma, and then they have pictured 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 what? Myofibrils.
What?
Right. So what's this whole thing? A muscle what?
Fiber.
Fiber. This is where I need more participation. I got to know you're hearing me. This is a what?
Fiber.
Also known as?
Cell.
Muscle cell. And then it's made out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in this picture. What?
Microfibrils.
Myofibrils. You say it with such enthusiasm. I love it. And I'm going to tell you that that is not accurate. This is underselling the number of myofibrils. Will you go ahead one? Here's the next diagram. This is much more accurate. This is a muscle fiber. Guess what all these are? Myofibrils, and they pulled out a few myofibrils. Go back. I just wanted you to see a more realistic version. So they're only showing you a muscle fiber with 5 myofibrils. You should know that there's upwards of 100 or so. Okay? Are we good on that? All right, now what? I pulled out this myofibril. 2 new things. There are proteins that they've pulled out. These proteins, these are muscle proteins. There's 2 of them. Myosin and actin. Which one's thicker? Myosin. So myosin is the thick protein filament. Actin is thin. So myosin thick, actin thin. That's been on the ECA, that topic right there. Yes, ma'am?
So
They're
they're proteins?
proteins. Yep. What's the shape of a myofibril?
Cylinder.
That's a cylinder. And so you would have a bunch of myosin surrounded by a bunch of actins, and a bunch of actins surrounded by myosin. They're all intertwined within this cylindrical structure. Keep that in mind for a few minutes down the road. So what would this be from here to here?
Sarcomere.
So what's this?
Sarcomere.
And what's this?
Sarcomere.
How did I define sarcomere?
Accordion.
Yeah, I gave that analogy that it's kind of like the pirate accordion. Okay, so how do muscles work? They work by getting
Shorter.
And so therefore, my sarcomeres must be able to do what?
Get shorter.
Get shorter. And so, how is that going to happen? We'll learn. But before I get into that, let's get a definition. Sarcomere. Contractile unit of skeletal muscle.
I have a
That's on your test. The contractile unit of skeletal muscle. What does that mean? Contractile unit. That means
That's where it contracts.
that's where the contraction takes place. So how many sarcomeres do you think there are in one myofibril? Thousands. And then how many myofibrils are in one muscle fiber? Like 100 or so. How many muscle fibers inside of one fascicle? Maybe a few hundred even. And then how many fascicles inside of a muscle? A few dozen. So imagine how many myofibrils there actually are, and then how many sarcomeres there are. That's crazy. Tons of sarcomeres, right? Keep that in mind. Yes, ma'am?
So sarcomeres are only in skeletal muscle?
Sarcomeres? No, you'll see them also in cardiac muscle tissue, but it's built a little differently. They're interconnected fibers, whereas all these fibers run parallel to each other. So that's one of the big differences between skeletal muscle and cardiac is in skeletal, all these fibers run parallel. They don't interconnect. In cardiac, they all interconnect so that, imagine kind of like this, all these fibers interconnected. So that when they contract, what's the heart going to do? Pump. It squeezes. So that interconnected nature of the cardiac muscle tissue allows it to do that. Other big difference, this one's voluntary. Cardiac? Involuntary. There's your other big difference. Okay? Are we good? Then go to the next. Okay, so we're getting more detailed here. It just keeps going today. I know it's going to hurt your brain. Give me your best day of the year. So I have a skeletal muscle fiber here with a bunch of what? Myofibrils. We've pulled out like 5 or 6 here, and we zoomed in on that. this is zoomed in on one little bunch of myofibrils. You see what we're looking at?
Yeah.
So this is a small portion of a muscle fiber. We're looking just within a small portion of the muscle cell itself. Good. So then we have new stuff. What's from here to here? This is a sarcomere. So what would be right here to here?
A sarcomere.
And right here to here.
Sarcomere.
Okay, and muscles work by getting
Shorter.
short. So somehow this must collapse like that accordion that I was talking about. So let's take a look at how. Guess what the red things are?
Blood.
What's inside the myofibril? What are the two proteins?
Myosin.
Myosin and actin. Which one's thicker? Red or this like gray line? Yeah, so the red is myosin. So if you had to describe the location of myosin within a sarcomere, where would you say?
And the
Right in the middle. Can you see how it's right in the middle of the sarcomere? Okay, so the thick protein myosin, right in the middle. What about the thin? Stay with me.
Actin.
Actin. So we have actins. So what's this over here then? This would be another sarcomere over here, right? So that means the actins of one sarcomere connect to the actins of the one next to it, and they connect at the structure called
Z-disc.
Z-disc or Z-line. This Z-disc, gee, how did they come up with that name, right? All right, so this Z-disc is the border between sarcomeres. Now, I said the myosin was what? Myosin?
Thicker.
Thick. How would that appear if you looked at it under a microscope? Darker or lighter?
Darker.
Darker. And then how would the actin area appear?
Lighter.
Lighter. Did you see that when you looked at it in the microscope? What was that called?
I didn't really pay attention that much.
Quick time out. Say it.
Sorry.
Striation. Remember this poster? You looked at this in a microscope. See the lines that are running this way? These are the bands. These are sarcomeres. These are the dark areas. That's where only myosin is. The light areas, it's only actin. So how does contraction take place? It's shorter, right? The banded appearance, how would you describe the direction at which these striations run as compared to the muscle fiber? Huh? Parallel? The striations run this way. Muscle fibers run this way. Perpendicular. So if I ask you, which way do striations run as compared to the muscle fibers, you should say perpendicular. And now I want you to see why. Do you? Why do we have the striations? Because we have what kind of protein? Myosin, which is very thick, and actin, which is very thin. All right, we good on that. Okay, I'm going to keep going. It's a lot of stuff, I know. I'll try to get this video, though, up on OneNote for you guys at some point, okay? What do I have here?
A sarcomere.
This blue stuff.
Oh.
That is what's called sarcoplasmic reticulum. Any of this blue stuff. Sarcoplasmic reticulum. Does that sound familiar to Bio 1?
Yeah.
Yes, Marche? What does it sound like back at Bio 1? Endoplasmic reticulum. Do you remember the job of the ER? Huh? Anyone? I got a bunch of excitement and then no answer. We all just trailed off. What if I said I had a piece of candy for the person that could tell me the function of the ER back in Biology 1? Go. Oh, no, but close. Yep. I'll give you that. Stores it. Okay. Do you want an almond joy or peanut M&Ms or a York peppermint patty?
Peppermint patty.
Done. You know I saw one. Here you go. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Nice catch. Okay. Stores protein, she said. It also forms like a highway system. And that's how I want you to view this here. This is modified endoplasmic reticulum, but it's in a muscle, so we call it not endoplasmic, but sarcoplasmic reticulum. It has one job inside of muscles, and it stores calcium. It stores calcium, transports it around, as you'll find out here in the next few minutes. So the job of this blue stuff is it holds what? Calcium. Not just any calcium, calcium ions. Do you know the charge on a calcium ion?
Two.
Plus 2. That's going to come into play in a few minutes, okay? So the charge in here of these calcium ions is plus 2, stored in the sarcoplasmic reticulum.